Joining us now is Natalie Winters, co-host of Steve Bannon's War Room and our very own White House correspondent. Great to see you, Natalie. You've been making headlines and getting people upset and all the usual thing, which is hilarious to watch. But listen, I wanted to ask you about this AI Gaza video, which I just absolutely loved. I thought it was hilarious. Just have a quick look at it. We'll just play you a quick grab of it.
Gaza is finally here. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new life. Feast and dance, the deal is done.
So, Natalie, it's a lot of fun, and you end up Netanyahu and Trump are there on the beach, and a lot of people are very offended by this because people have died. There's a war, absolutely. But there's a serious point behind this, and this is the way Trump is changing the world in front of our eyes. How are Americans reacting to the new, if you like, Trump version of the world? Peace, hopefully, between Russia and Ukraine. Peace, hopefully, in the Middle East. How are Americans reacting to it?
Well, your average American, the normal American citizen, I think, loves this change of pace, the idea that America is the global hegemon and that we aren't just continuing to shell out and hemorrhage our tax dollars to these situations that are described by sort of our, I guess, globalist, DC think tank betters as situations or scenarios where there's essentially a no-win outcome for the American people, right? It's sort of this continued money laundering racket, whether it's Ukraine or frankly any country in the Middle East. And I think time and time again, even just in the first 2 months of this presidency, you've sort of seen a shift. That, of course, sentiment not being shared among the mainstream media and the sort of Democratic Party. They've been melting down over that video. But I think it's quite interesting, right? They're very sensitive about anything when it comes to Gaza, Palestine, Israel, anything that we say is, neo-colonialist or, choose your ivory tower liberal academic word to critique it. But what President Trump is doing, ironically, I think, is probably more supported by the people on the ground there than a continuation of the status quo, which is just more death and destruction. I think if you ask most people there, they would take the reality of that video over their lived experience any day. And I know Americans certainly don't want to keep shelling out taxpayer dollars to support the atrocities going on over there.
Now, Natalie, you mentioned the globalists and the kind of Democrat lefties. They're all running scared. It strikes me that you're either on the Trump train and prepared to do deals and put your economy and your nation's strategic approach with Trump, or you're against him. And those who are on the wrong side, I was very delighted to see that DOGE coin have taken $52 million that they won't be giving to Klaus Schwab. You remember Klaus Schwab told us in the future, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Well, it seems like maybe it might come true for Klaus Schwab himself. He might end up with nothing, Natalie.
Yes, good riddance. We will definitely not eat the bugs. This is just another example of DOGE doing what they do best, which is identifying waste, fraud, and abuse. I think this grant is a perfect encapsulation of all three of those things. But I think you really hit the nail on the head to sort of explain what's happening in American politics. You certainly saw it in 2016, but it really is a whole entire reorientation of American politics. It's not Republican versus Democrat anymore. And you saw that trend only sort of continue, if not accelerate, under President Trump's second confirmed win, right? It was a very multiracial, multi-ethnic, very working class heavy victory. But to that point, right, the American people, when you strip away this, I think unnecessary race baiting and focus on ad hominem politics and the idea that Republicans are racist, the working class can actually realize, right, your average middle class, lower class American realizes that there's actually collusion between Republicans and Democrats, both of the sort of more establishment sects or wings, to really deprive American workers of their jobs, of their livelihoods. You see it with the mass infiltration and inundation of immigration, legal and illegal workers, right? The suppression and the devaluation of what it means to hold American citizenship. And I think groups like the World Economic Forum are doing that on a country by country basis. They obviously do that in Australia too. They do it everywhere. But it's sort of a rejection of the idea of global government. Because I don't know about you, I never elected some global sovereign to make any decisions over my life. And I'm really lucky and blessed. And I think the Australian people are too, to have someone like President Trump who is standing up and fighting back and frankly just calling these people out for what they are. They love to use their, HR department approved terms of global government, and we're going to have a happy world where you're going to own nothing and be happy. No, it's this, neo Marxism, this weird technocratic, oligarchic, elitist rule that no one ever voted for. And it's nice to see them being called out to their face and stripped of their funding that, frankly, I don't even know why they were receiving any to begin with.